PwCC has found a new way to scam and rip off customers. This is an incredibly alarming situation because essentially people participated in their most recent weekly auction, won cards, some in fact even paid for the invoices that were sent to them. PwCC then decided to cancel all sales and extend the bidding for a further 24 hours. This is absolutely wild, and based on everything that I can see, goes against their T's and C's. And to make this matter even more alarming is that they made a few more mistakes along the way that impacted also the previous week's auctions as well. This is crazy to me, and I'm going to take you through everything now. So essentially over the last couple of days, I want to say since this happened, so in the last day or two, I had a number of people reach out and say, Daniel, did you see what happened with PwCC? I won some cards, I paid for them, and then they just decided to, cancel my payment and extend the bidding process. Or I had people come out and say, Daniel, I won some cards, I went to pay for them, but I couldn't. And then a few hours later, everything was relisted. What the heck is going on? And this seemed to do the rounds within the hobby. Many people sort of caught on and was getting the same sort of messaging. And PwCC came out with this statement that you can see on screen right now. They basically come out and said, we are currently investigating technical issues with extended bidding in weekly auction 89 that was closing on October 1st. When we will have an update by 12 p.m. Pacific time on Monday, October 2nd. We greatly appreciate your patience and sincerely apologize for any inconvenience, I should say. Now, you can sort of see some of the comments there on the right, but essentially what happened was they realized, PwCC, that a few of the items in the weekly auction had some issues where people were unable to place bids. And you can see this via their updated post the following day. During the weekly auction number 89 on Sunday, October 1st, PwCC experienced technical issues on the platform. Bidders received a notification that time had expired early, and apparently people could also not bid. So essentially people got a notification that the auction finished sooner rather than it did, and then that meant that maybe some prices ended up selling for a lot less than what they should have. PwCC's priority is to always ensure fairness and trust in the auction experience for both sellers and buyers. The auction will move to Monday, October 2nd, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, I believe, is what those time zones are. All previous bids remain active, and weekly auction 89 remains open for bidding now and through the end of the extended bidding time. Thank you for your understanding, and we look forward to tonight's auction. So essentially what they did was, because a select few apparently had a technical issue where people were notified that, bidding ended early or they couldn't place bids, they decided to essentially open up, every single item again, irrespective of whether an item had an issue or not. And this is a pretty alarming precedent to set for them as a business, because a number of customers had obviously won cards for a lot cheaper than what in fact they did sell for, with a further additional 24 hours put on that auction, which I find to be incredibly unacceptable. They talk about, to always ensure fairness and trust here. Now, this is just one of those instances where the person impacted is obviously the consignor, right? Somebody has, listed some cards there, and because of this issue out at PwCC, they've not been able to make as much money as they would have liked, right? Because PwCC had a technical issue. So rather than PwCC, correcting it for those select few consignors that were screwed over by this issue, right? I.e. giving them a refund or paying them maybe what that card should have in fact been worth in the first place if cards, did in fact sell below comps. They decided to screw over everyone, including the buyers who got cards for a lot cheaper than what they did in the end, because with the additional 24 hours, things sold for more money, as people, did comment on within the comments section. And it's just a wild position for PwCC to take. I don't understand why they've done this outside of them wanting to make more commission. It's really unfortunate that they've done this to impact every single buyer. And to make this matter even worse is, not only did they refund the people that had already paid for their winnings in this auction, but they also refunded accidentally some individuals that won items in the week before, meaning those people had to then resend a second payment for those cards. So it's just really amateur behavior from PwCC, and once again ties into this whole Fanatics BS, because surprise, surprise, Fanatics owns PwCC, and since their acquisition a few months ago, they've culled back quite a number of employees. So is this as a result of that? Who knows? But I just find the whole thing to be, utterly insane. Not to mention the fact that they've done this, but then also the fact that they stuffed up by refunding people from the previous week's auctions as well. Now, to give you guys some context on what I said a little bit earlier, you can see what's highlighted over here. Their investor buyer responsibilities: to participate in the marketplace in an honest and sincere manner, and to place bids as offers which are honored in the event of a sale. Apologies for my stutter. Sales are not conditional and all sales are final. No exceptions unless PwCC want to make an exception themselves, right? Unless they realize they stuffed up and they want to make a bit more money. Now, a few people here in the comments basically talk to a few things where they say, what's fair about sending me an invoice, accepting my payment, and then opening up the auction again? There is a number of people that have sent me this. I've seen screenshots and conversations with PwCC that I don't want to share because I don't want to get these people into trouble or have them face any issues. But the communication back from PwCC about this issue as well is unacceptable. They're sort of saying, well, bad luck, you should have bid again kind of thing, not factoring in the fact that these people, won it legitimately a few days before, and you've sort of ruined the whole auction because a select few had issues. That is completely unacceptable, and once again speaks to, the complete lack of professionalism when it comes to businesses within this hobby, right? PwCC is meant to be a premier business within this industry, right? So much so that Fanatics even acquired them, and they're doing crap like this. Like, what are you doing to give your customers value? I understand you've had consigners that are sitting you cards and you're meant to sell them for them, and your issue meant they didn't get as much money as possible, right? But rather than fix it for the select few, you're sort of screwing over, everybody else. And if we go back, to the previous post, I'll bring it up on screen again. You've got people here again, shady, majority didn't have issues, but reopen all for the few that had issues. Make it make sense. I won't be bidding and should be a way to cancel my bid now, I think is what this person is trying to say. But there is dozens of comments like this. And the other sort of effort of compensation that PwCC has tried to give is that they're like, well, we're sorry for this inconvenience. We're going to give you a $50 credit. But, the people that are getting these $50 credits are really only getting one per account, not for the number of cards that they did in fact win. And to make matters worse, there are some people that did win cards for a lot cheaper that did now sell for a lot more, but were unable to bid because they also had technical issues. So it's just an absolutely wild, response from PwCC. Now, I want to know from you guys down below, did you experience this yourself? What are your thoughts on this? Because me personally, I think this is completely unacceptable. And, their decision to approach it the way they have tells me they only had really their pockets in mind, their own pockets, right? Because they wanted to make more commission and they were trying to protect the consigners themselves. They've completely alienated everybody that did in fact win one of these cards, fair and truly. And by essentially restarting it, they missed out on getting a good card for their PC for a lot less than what they did sell for. People were telling me that, some cards, sold for a lot more money in the end. They sold for, 10, 20, 30, 40% more money than what they previously did the day before. It's just crazy to me, especially with how auctions work. It's completely unacceptable. And once again, speaks to the amateur nature within this industry, right? This is a completely unacceptable approach that impacts customers more than anybody else at this stage. It speaks to where the hobby's at. There's a whole long way to go before stuff gets done better. The fact that, we've had other issues from PwCC in the past. I've tried contacting them to get a comment on this specifically, but they've basically ghosted me ever since I brought up that duplicate Lamar Jackson situation. Initially, for those of you guys that don't recall, they were helping me try to get to the bottom of it, and they went cold a few months ago and have not said a peep since. I think they are one of the worst platforms within this industry, and it's a very unfortunate thing to say, but when it comes to the complete lack of oversight for shill bidding, where anybody can make an account and bid on their stuff, you just have to have a phone number. You don't really need to verify it. They require no proof of identity. To have that stuff going on in that platform is completely unacceptable. It's pretty obvious to see that shill bidding does occur on their platform, especially with the number of cards that continually get resold every single week. There's a infamous Steph Curry flawless card that is listed literally every week and goes unpaid. So there's very clearly shill bidding happening there, and their total lack of, urgency to want to fix it, right? Just speaks into the same issue that we talked today, where they are just incredibly incompetent. And I think, in my opinion, you should be spending your money elsewhere. You're free to do whatever it is you want, right? That PLO card that you sort of can't see, it's like over there. I'm trying to get my hand there where my finger's pointing. That was bought on PwCC's platform. But I'm probably not going to use them again purely for what they've done here, because I think it's completely unacceptable. So it is what it is. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.